Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to another video. And yes, it's finally time to talk Ryzen, as it's something that everyone is interested in, and it's something that requires a little bit of thought if you do want to go down that route, as there's more to it than just buying a CPU. But first, what is Ryzen? Well, it's AMD's latest line of enthusiast grade CPUs. So the processors that make your computer faster than another computer that has a lesser processor. And there's three to choose from. You've got the 1800X, the 1700X, and then the 1700. The top two have a TDP of 95 watts, and then the lower one has a TDP of 65. So the higher TDP is going to allow for more power to run through those processors and hopefully crunch more numbers. And all three of them are 8-core CPUs, and they aim to compete with the much more expensive Intel processors. So if you're looking at something like Intel 6800K, that is priced around about £400 here in the UK, but you can get something that will hopefully compete with it for around about £80 less with the 1700. So whether this will actually match up in terms of performance, we'll have to wait for a later date, as it's currently all under NDA and I wouldn't be able to discuss performance numbers with you at this time, but rest assured we will have a full build guide and we'll have full performance numbers very soon, so do stay tuned for that and subscribe if you're not already. But it's not just a case of grabbing a new processor, sticking it in your system, everything works, hooray. No, you're going to need a new motherboard and possibly need to look at changing your cooler, as well as getting a fresh copy of Windows. Now there's a new chipset for motherboards, and this is the X370 chipset. So this supports pretty much all the features you would want in this modern day and age. The one I've got here is an Asus Prime motherboard, and it's a good example of how you can get all the features you'd want from a motherboard, whereas previously you just wouldn't get this if you went down the AMD platform, as you would miss out on things like DDR4 memory, USB 3.1 support and things like that. So here we have M.2 NVMe support, we've got DDR4 memory, and this is dual channel, it's not quad channel, so that is a big difference versus the X99 Intel platform. But most people will be absolutely fine buying 2 sticks of RAM and using it in dual channel anyway, because it saves you money, and in my experience I haven't really noticed much difference between using 4 sticks in quad channel and 2 sticks in dual channel anyway. But otherwise we've got plenty of USB 3.1 ports on the back, as well as a header on the motherboard itself, so you can hook this up to a compatible case and then get USB 3.1 on the front. So if this is sounding very modern, it's because it is, and you pretty much have all the features you want here. Now it uses the AM4 socket, and this is a new socket, which means you may need to look at your cooling to make sure that it's actually compatible with this new motherboard and the new processor. Some companies will offer an upgrade solution, so you can get companies like Corsair, I believe, will ship out different kits to upgrade you to AM4 if you need to. But new CPU coolers like the one I've got here, which is a Master Liquid 120, has support for AM4 out of the box. And so if you're buying a new CPU cooler, do check that it does support AM4, as otherwise you're going to not be able to mount your cooler onto your processor. And then finally, Windows. Depending on what version of Windows you're running, whether it's OEM or not, you may not be able to move from an old motherboard to a new one without actually buying a new license key of Windows. As I say, this will entirely depend on what you're running now, so you will need to check. Just bear in mind that you may well upgrade your system and then it say that your license key isn't valid, and then you'd need to fork out for a new Windows license key. And so that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Ryzen platform. The main thing really is that it is going to cost you a fair amount of money to upgrade, and if you do need things like new memory as well, then of course that's going to bump up the cost further, and if you do need a copy of Windows, then you're looking at nearer the £650 mark. So it's not going to be the cheapest upgrade out there, but it all depends what you're currently running, and if you are looking to buy a new system like a lot of people are, then the Ryzen platform definitely looks like a really solid shout. If you were previously looking at the 6900K, then I think that thing is going to get a massive price drop, because if the performance is very similar to the 1800X, then there are going to be very few people out there that want to pay £500 for quad channel RAM. It's just simply not going to happen. But then if you're one of these people that are after a new gaming PC, then while Ryzen is very, very interesting and is definitely worth a closer look, it may well still be worth looking at getting an i5, because that's still cheaper. That's around about £250, maybe a little bit less, £230 at the time of filming. And for most people, that's still all the CPU horsepower in games that they need. So spending the extra money for the Ryzen platform, so around about £100 extra, still might not make that much sense. But fortunately, there are more AMD CPUs coming later in the year that will offer hopefully just as good levels of performance at a lower price. But we'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait and see how well these Ryzen chips actually perform before we can give full judgment over it, whether it's worth it. But hopefully this video has helped you understand everything you need if you do want to get into the Ryzen platform. If it has helped you, then please leave a like. If it hasn't, leave a dislike. Let me know what you think. Are you upgrading to a Ryzen system? Are you making a new build? Please do let me know. Subscribe for more videos just like this, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.